We're talking about the big AI expansion, the big AI race.
We need data centers and we need AI. And for this reason, it is literally, they are the backbone of the digital economy. What data centers need 24/7 reliable and affordable power. So, and if we don't build them, somebody else will.
Can I just say it? Jenna. We're speaking with Amy Cooke, who is the founder, president, chairman of Always On Energy Research. And she's our guest right now. So let's talk about the AI data centers. They've been popping up, and there's been this interesting dynamic, this ebb and flow of, well, they're good because everybody's using AI. We need the data centers so that the AI can work more efficiently. And then there's this rejection of the AI. And now there's these subsequent problems that have been popping up about, well, what about the energy? What about the water? And how do we do this? And we need space. And so all these things. What has, let's start with AI data centers and what they need to survive.
That's a great question. First of all, we need data centers and we need AI. And for this reason, it is literally, they are the backbone of the digital economy. So, and if we don't build them, somebody else will. And that means our information is going to be somewhere else in a place that may not be as, let's put it this way. They may not have quite the accountability that the United States have, that we have over, and this would be our data.
Can I just say it? Jenna.
Anyway, so what do they need to survive? One is we need power. And in Texas, you all know, you guys have power popping up all over the place, but you have data centers popping up all over the place. But it isn't just any power. So all megawatts are not equal. What data centers need 24/7 reliable and affordable power. They can't have intermittent power. They can't afford to go down for a couple of days. So they need reliable power. And you also said something else. Do we pay for it? And the answer to that, and this will be a typical political answer, maybe you could, but with good policy, you do not have to. That's the thing. And these data centers want speed to power. They want to get up and running quickly. They don't have time to litigate pipelines, or they don't have time to go through the morass of decades-long permitting. They need speed to power. So one thing that certainly we talk about at Always On, but also it's a growing, I want to say idea. I would love to say it as a trend, but only one state has actually passed it at this point. And that is the ability to have a data center build its own power and pay for it. Let them do it. They have money. You shouldn't have to pay for it. I shouldn't have to pay for it. Let them pay for it. They have the ability to do that. New Hampshire has actually passed a law that lets them do that they can build their own power, their own transmission, and they can contract with the utility to manage it or do whatever to build it, but let them do it. And that way doesn't get socialized on the backs of residential and small business customers. So what they need is affordable, reliable power, number one. So I would start there. Though, of course, you'll hear land. They do need water, but they've gotten to a point where they're better with water. They use closed loop systems. They also are investing in water efficiency strategies. So what they'll do, Zach, is sometimes they might go into an apartment complex, or sometimes they'll go into assisted living or facilities, and they will pay for efficiency upgrades for everybody, for the entire facility. And then what they'll say is those efficiencies, that water efficiency, then gets transferred to the data center. So they're paying for the efficiencies. So it's not a net increase in water use. You're literally just trading it. So you have some of that going on as well.
Joining us on 710 KURV is Amy Cooke, the founder, president, and chairman of Always On Energy Research, and we're talking about AI data centers. And we're talking about the costs for this. And it's interesting because not only would consumers have to pay for the service of the AI, right? The monthly subscription or what have you, but it's compounded. Okay, if the water rate goes up, I got to pay that. If the like appraisal values and property taxes go up because there's an AI data center near me now, that's a compounded cost that I got to pay, plus the electricity and whatever else comes up. And you're right, though we were, I did want to ask you, what solutions, how are they able to, actually you had brought this up about the water. I thought this was interesting. Joe, you remember this one. There was a case, I think in Georgia, where an AI data center had sucked up about 30 million gallons of water, and nobody figured it out until the citizens started complaining that their water pressure was low. And so they had taken maybe $143,000 worth of water. Now, when they found out, they paid for it, obviously. And there's going to be exceptions like that, like little growing pains across the. Right. But as far as the electric grid, we're not prepared for what's to come. And it's not something. It's literally not just flipping a switch. That kind of takes time to produce, doesn't it?
It does. It takes actually a long time. So two things on that. One, again, let's get back to that speed to power. They want power quickly, and they can pay for it. So let them. That's what I tell you. Let them build their own. Let them do their own transmission. What you have are utilities, though, that want them within their territory, right?
Are they willing to, though? I'm sorry for interrupting.
Are they willing? Yeah. Well, okay. Another good question. Some for sure are. You're going to have others that will not, but for sure some want, because they need it quickly, and they don't want to get caught up in the. There's, for instance, I'll give you an example. There's 8 years worth of litigation on a pipeline that's going through Virginia and North Carolina. 8 years to get natural gas into a state that desperately needs it. Desperately, their natural gas is fully subscribed. They aren't far away from Pennsylvania. I mean, they're close. They're within proximity to natural gas, but this pipeline is locked in. Well, it's moving along now, but think about that. 8 years to wait for a pipeline is a long, long time. So they need power quickly. And actually, that's why they come to places like Texas, because you guys are willing to, you guys are, you're throwing power on the grid all the time, but it matters what type of power. That's the thing. It can't just be intermittent. It can't be just wind and solar. They need reliable 24/7. They've got to be always on. The other part that you brought up, and I love that you did, because this is true. Property taxes. You come in, you're a rural community, a data center comes in, buys up a chunk of land, it gets assessed at a higher value. Now all the surrounding properties are going up. But for instance, if you look at Loudoun County, Virginia, which is where the majority of data centers actually are in the United States, number one state for data centers is Virginia, believe it or not. Northern Virginia, where you also have to have excellent connectivity, because they've got to be, not only do they need 24/7 power, they need to be online 24/7. So, but what's happened in Loudoun County is the data centers there are paying for, it's better than half of the total county services. So what's actually happened is their property taxes have gone down, because these data centers are paying so much in property taxes that they actually are paying for a majority of the services in Loudoun County. And so that's a benefit. But this is all about policy, right? I mean, it needs good governance. That doesn't mean you come down with 1,000 regulations and it's death by 1,000 cuts. It means good governance. So we look at who's done things right. I do what New Hampshire's doing, allow them to bring their own power. Look at how Loudoun County has used their property tax revenue from data centers to offset residents' property taxes. And then also look at water efficiency and savings.
Our guest is Amy Cooke, the founder, president, and chairman of Always On Research. We're talking about data centers, AI data centers, and the resources that they're going to need to run. Tell me about the work that you all do at Always On Research.
Yeah, actually, we do modeling. Sorry, this is the geeky stuff, but we do modeling for cost and reliability for state energy plans, utility energy plans, or what are known as IRPs. And also we'll look at federal regulations and their impact on states' ability to deliver reliable, affordable power. So we do that as well. We are a modeling firm that was born out of the three of us that worked together. Were frustrated that we knew that nobody was accounting for the total cost of energy. Because what you would hear, what the narrative was that certain resources were way cheaper, and because wind and solar are free, the resource itself is free, so therefore it's going to be cheaper. And we were in states that were experiencing something very different. I come from Colorado, and then my two co-founders come from Minnesota. So we're like, wait a second, but why aren't, if that is the case, then why are our rates going up? Why are our bills getting more and more expensive? And so what we began doing is putting our heads together, and my two co-founders, Mitch and Isaac, two young guys, smart as whips, they created a proprietary model that we call the Always On LCOE, levelized cost of energy, but it is the total system cost. So when, like I said, all megawatts are not equal. They need certain things to keep them going. So what is that? What are all of those things? And what is that total system cost? And we were able to figure out that, yeah, so sure, point of generation, wind and solar are going to be cheaper just at that point of generation. Turning it into useful power, into electricity, is very expensive. So in other words, you need transmission lines, you need distribution, you need to massively overbuild. You have to 1,000 megawatts of coal is greater than 1,000 megawatts of solar. 1,000 megawatts of solar will not deliver the same amount of power that 1,000 megawatts of coal. So if you're going to shut down a coal plant, or you're going to shut down a natural gas plant, and you're going to replace it with, say, wind and solar, you might have to overbuild 5 to 8 times. And then you have to do transmission lines, and then you have to do distribution, and then you have to do batteries, or you have to have some kind of firming resource. So that's why we say we had to come up with a model that could do an apples to apple comparison. So that's what we do at Always On. And we just finished, for instance, the state of Indiana.
And it is fascinating. No, you bring up a lot of good points, because I think there was a report that came out that ERCOT needs, I think, 4 times as much electricity than its peakest peak in Texas history by 2030 or 2035 or something like that. And not only do we need the generation, but we need the infrastructure, because there's bottlenecks all over the state. We got to figure that out as well. But that's the place we're going to have to. Amy Cooke is the founder, president, and chairman of Always On Energy Research, joining us on News Talk 710 KURV.